Welcome to the very last day of the first full week of school. I made it, we did it, and I am so excited that it's Friday and I get to sleep in a little bit tomorrow. This week we have been really working hard on establishing the routines, the procedures of everything that's happening within our classrooms and really kind of getting down to here's what our schedule is going to look like. Now let's really get into this routine of it. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys some different things that we've been doing this week. I have a few changes that I have to make, so I'm going to walk you through the changes that I've made. It always seems it's inevitable that the first day of school we go in thinking that this is exactly how it's going to be, but we always have to make a couple of tweaks here and there. So I'm going to share that with you guys as well. First things first though, I need to work on a couple of projects this morning. I've already gotten my morning message up, which I'm very proud about. Because typically that doesn't go up until about 8 o'clock. So I already have that done. I don't have to worry about it now, but I have other little areas in my classroom that I do need to work on. So let's do that together. So one of the big blessings about this classroom is that I have so much storage. I often get a lot of comments about, oh my gosh, you have all the closets and you have all the drawers and the cabinets. Yes, it's very nice, but at the same time, I really struggle with finding where to put things in this classroom because I don't have a ton of bulletin boards. I really have 2 bulletin boards, I have a whiteboard, but then that's really about it. Everything else just kind of, there's no usable space here. Whereas in my previous classroom when I taught kindergarten, I had so much space to be able to display all sorts of things. And one of the things that I really want to display and I was struggling with is our 40 book challenge rings. So this is an idea that I got from Hello Fifth. I will actually put her free product image here. She's fantastic. I met her when I went to Jamaica right before COVID hit. And I have used this free resource over and over again. I mean, why try to reinvent the wheel when somebody's already done a really great job in creating it for you? So I just use her 40 book challenge. And it's basically where you take these little cheapy shower curtains like this, super small shower curtains. And you have to use the really thin ones or else the beads don't really work. But essentially what students are doing is they're having to read a variety of different genres and they're also kind of tracking the books that they're reading. So we have all of that tracking system inside of their digital ELA notebook that they have within Google Drive. But then we have these kind of displayed. And so students are going to be adding the book covers that they read. So all I did was I cut out just little index cards. I cut a bunch of them out. And so students will recreate the little cover of their books and they will add it to their rings. As they accumulate however many books it is. It starts with 10, they get a 10 badge. And then after that, they continuously add to it. So we have 10s, I've got 30, I've got 20, and all of this here is in her resource. And then we have the 40 as well. But the other cool thing is that as they finish genres, so let's say they have to read 2 books within the genre of poetry, if they read the 2 books within the genre of poetry, they also get to add a bead as well. So they can earn up to, I think it is 9 beads for the different genres that they are expected to read in. So I created little name labels for each of my students' rings. And previously we kept their, in the previous year that I've done this, we kept their rings on one of the drawers. So these are the drawers that we would keep them on. And basically I would just have it hooked like this. Okay, it was a little bit of a pain in the butt to open and close the drawers, but honestly, I don't use a ton of them because it's just filled with stuff that I don't necessarily need. I don't have enough room for posters or chart paper. That thing over there is driving me bonkers. And by that thing, I do mean that chart paper stand is just driving me nuts. So we used to keep them here, but that's not feasible because of the space that we have between the desks and these drawers. So I had to think of a plan B of where we could put it. Oops, now it's stuck. So I had to think of a plan B. And when I was with my 6th graders, we were brainstorming and we came up with this idea. So these are just basic magnetic poles from Walmart. It's a Mainstay brand. I'm just realizing that there are two different ones, but who cares? There's one, there's the other. That's fine. No big deal. I'm not going to stress about it. But it's a magnetic like shower curtain. And so I have two different ones for my two different classes. So these are going to be my 5th grade kiddos, and then at the bottom are going to be my 6th grade kiddos. So now I'm just going to create some labels to put up here in the top just to make it look a little bit more fun. But it's going to get really colorful once we start to see everybody's labels up there. It's going to be awesome. So that's what we decided to do. Bless my husband Trent for going all the way to a different town about 20-30-ish minutes away to go and find those magnetic shower curtains, because the Walmarts near us, of course, were totally out of them, and I really needed to make sure that I had that. So I'm feeling really good about that, but I need to make those labels. So to make the signs for the 40 book challenge, I just went onto Google Drive and used a Google Slides presentation. I choose the font that I really like. I went to about 250 in font size for the main labels, which is 40 book challenge, and then I used about 200 for the 5th grade and 6th grade labels. Now, because challenge was a little bit longer, I did have to kind of cut it off. So wherever it started to kind of go onto the second line, I just replaced it and put it onto the next box so that I could print it, cut it to where I needed to be, and just kind of tape it together to make it look like it was all one piece of paper. It works out perfect. You still see the line, but I'm not going to stress about it at all. And I used colors that I felt as though really went with my classroom, or that I just really like to vibe with. So I love the oranges, the greens, the blues, and that's what I pretty much went with. Laminated those, and y'all know how long laminating ends up taking. I decided that I was just gonna go ahead and pull out my label maker and finish making some labels that I needed to do for my mailboxes today. So got those done while I was waiting for all my laminating to finish, cut it up, and then I used just plain masking tape, which I know masking tape has a history of just making things fall off the walls. However, I, one, didn't want to use any sort of duct tape on these walls because I don't want them to get messed up. They were recently painted just like a couple of years ago. And it was when I was in this classroom, so I want to make sure that they stay nice. So just use some plain tape, and I think it looks nice. I like how it came out. I like the brightness of it. And I think the kids are just gonna be really excited when they come in and they see it. So check, that is finally off my list. So I mentioned to you guys at the very beginning of this video that with the start of the school year, we had completely thought that what we were gonna do was going to work. We quickly found out this week, with us trying to get into our routines and everything that we're doing with switching into our block classes, that we had to make some changes. So one of the things that we needed to make changes to is our schedule. So with our schedule right now, it's very, very choppy because of the way we have everything kind of planned out to help minimize how many students are kind of crossing each other in the hallways, outside, all of that. So I'm going to show you guys what our schedule looked like before we made the change. So the schedule is not the absolute best, I've got to be honest, the way that I have it written. I do need to go through and make some changes to it. These are just some items that I got from Lakeshore when it comes to like creating my schedule cards. And I kept the colors that I love, and then I got rid of the colors that I didn't necessarily love. I wish I would have gotten 2 sets of these so that I could only use the colors that I really like. But anyways, so here's how it works. Students start to arrive at 8:30 so they can eat breakfast in the classroom. We have morning meeting at 9:10. And in between this morning meeting and this block 1, they have kind of time to be able to work at their desks. Now, right now, it's just been a little bit slower with us getting into routines. We've been talking about Pride. So we haven't had a ton of time independently to be able to work, but we will end up getting there. So it's going to be almost like their choice time that we've done in years past, or win time. So you can kind of think of it either way. So block 1 is at 9:50, and we go from 9:50 to about 10. 10:55, 10:58ish, and then we go to the bathroom at 11. At 11:10, we take the kids to lunch, and here's where things start to kind of get a little weird. So we have like this 30-minute time in between lunch and recess. So we decided to do it as read aloud during this time, because we personally enjoyed having kind of them calm down, relax afterwards, so that they're not crazy. And then after we get back from recess, which is just 10 minutes, we have the bathroom after this recess here, and then we go to our second block. And then we switch at 1:50 for content, and then we have content until 2:20. So the problem that we were running into is that when we were doing this switch right here, so the kids were coming from their block 2 to go back to their home rooms, it was crazy in the hallway. To be honest, like kids were there were so many classes. I think at one time I counted like 5 or 6 different classes. It was just too much. People were trying to go to recess. Other people were trying to go to their specials. People were coming back from their specials. Our kids were trying to line up outside of homerooms. We were trying to wipe down tables. Like it was too much. So we decided, you know what, let's try for one day to go 5 minutes later. And it was perfect right now because we're not like really deep, we're not deep into curriculum at the moment. We're just kind of establishing those procedures, getting to know those workshops that we're in. So we waited 5 minutes and it was beautiful. It's quiet out in the hallway. The kids were quiet. It just felt less stressful. So now, we didn't want to take away 5 minutes from our block, like our main blocks, because that's either math or ELA. But then it would also cut down our content to 25 minutes, which wasn't the best. So I know you're probably sitting there thinking it. Yes, we switched our content, and then we also switched it with the read aloud. So now read aloud is at the end of the day, which I'm not hating, to be honest, because during that time, it just... at the end of the day, I'm done. I'm so exhausted. That is my worst time for teaching. So I really like the fact that I can have read aloud, recess, specials, and kids go home. So I don't have to really think at the end of the day. So we switched that time and we extended that block 2 for 5 more minutes just so that we can minimize that. So, switching this out was pretty easy. What's nice is that these cards are like a laminate almost. They're not like true laminated like you would send through the laminating machine, but they have this like sheen, so it's easy to wipe off. So basically, the way that I had to make this work is I had to basically combine some of these times, like basically recess and bathroom, things like that, just to make it to where they can all fit. And I can add in our special and dismissal at the very bottom. So in case somebody has to come into my classroom, they can look at the schedule on the board and be able to follow that. So happy that that was an easy fix and that I didn't go with the route of, printing something out that was like, this is what it is. I just went with nice Expo marker because it was easy and it was easy to make this change. So thank goodness for that. So the other thing that we ended up having to change is how we manage all of our belongings. So because we have desks, the students can't really think of it as their desk. We don't want them doing that because remember, I have 3 classes that are coming through here. I have to clean the desks every time. And so to ensure that students are not kind of touching each other's things, that things are not getting stained with just other stuff on it, I don't want them thinking of it as their desk. They could always be moved. So the way that we have it right now is that at the end of the day, the only 2 things that belong inside of a desk are going to be the toolkit that they have, which looks like this. It was given to them by the school with all their supplies in it. And then the other thing that they have is a whiteboard. And this is just in case I need to do whiteboard practice with my classes, and so students will end up sharing that, but this is going to be something that they have to carry around. Well, you can imagine that by the time they have all of the things that they are carrying, so let's just talk about what they're carrying. They have a home folder that they have to take home every single day. They had their toolbox, their iPad, a water bottle. They had an independent reading book. They had a CPM notebook that was only 6th grade, and then they had a writer's notebook for me. Now, originally, we were saying that they were just going to take them back and forth. Well, guys, they were standing out in the hallway, and it's like my partner had the best explanation of this. It's like landmines. You never know when it's gonna go off. They would just fall. It would be like boom, boom, boom. And it's like, it would just drive me crazy because the kids could not hold on to it. So we started brainstorming with the kids. The kids are like, well, let's all get buckets. I can't do buckets. I don't want buckets. It's just not gonna happen. So I don't wanna do buckets. I don't wanna do totes because the totes are gonna be all over the place. They're gonna get messy. I just cannot handle it. So you're probably sitting here with like, you've got a lot of rules. I do. There's a lot of things that I just don't wanna deal with. So we ended up deciding I wasn't using my mailboxes because, to be honest, the mailboxes, I was like, I originally was gonna use them at the very beginning of the year. So here's what my mailboxes look like. This is them, okay? I was gonna use them at the beginning of the year. So I started labeling them. I got halfway there and then I stopped because I realized that these things, they don't fit. There's no way that they're gonna fit. So I was like, well, then what's the point of using them? If they can't put their toolbox in there, what's the point of using the mailbox? So at the end of the day, we talked about it as like a team of teachers, and we decided that the kids don't necessarily need to take everything with them to every single class. So like their home folder, they're gonna keep those inside of their mailboxes all day. Unless like the kids are going to reading class, which I'm the reading class for 5th and 6th grade, and then my other partner is the reading class for 4th grade. So unless they're going to their reading class, they don't need to take their independent reading book with them because they're not gonna need it in math class. They just won't. And then I also decided that I'm gonna keep their writer's notebooks. So now at their desks at any given time, they only have their iPad, their toolbox, and their water bottle, which has gotten so much better. We tried it today because today it's the end of the day at this point, but we tried it today and it was so wonderful. Like we had less landmines going off outside because it was just too much. Like with the boxes, I couldn't handle it. We had less of that. We did have a few students who had to come back to get things, but I think it will end up getting better the more and more we practice it. So I think overall it was good. So what I ended up doing is I took 2 of the black crates that I used to have back in kindergarten, and I created these little round labels essentially that has like 6th grade notebooks, 5th grade notebooks. And then I like this little trick with these types of bins because the bins have holes on them all the way around and it just makes it look really cute. So I was all about the cute this morning apparently. I laminated these, and then you punch 2 holes like at the top of these little circles, and then you take the ribbon and you kind of tie it around, and then you can create a little bow, which is really cute. So I'm happy with them, and now the kids have their notebooks. I'm gonna show it to you, but it's gonna get a little loud because of the air conditioning. So I wanna show you what they look like. So here's what it ended up looking like. This is gonna be where I have it. As far as how we are gonna end up passing these out, I haven't quite decided yet. I could very easily just pass it out during the times that we will end up needing it, or just have students go and get it from the bucket itself. But I'm not sure management yet if I love that overall. So this might change just a little bit, but overall I'm pretty happy with the progress, and the students really love their notebooks. And so speaking of notebooks, I wanted to share with you guys our writer's notebooks and just kind of how we designed kind of the outside. So one of the things that I asked my students to do is I sent home, I have an example. Okay, I sent home this little paper bag, and on the paper bag I just have an explanation of what I want families. Now I did give kids like 2 or 3 nights to be able to get this done just so that they could bring it in. And here's what it says. Hello families, this year your child will be creating a writer's notebook to help inspire and encourage stories from their personal lives and things that interest them. Our hope is to be able to decorate this notebook with photographs from their life, words that inspire them, clippings from magazines, and images of things that they love. We are asking that you send in around 8 to 10 images, but you are welcome to send in more that your child can paste into their writer's notebook on, and then I gave the date. We will share our writer's writer's notebook and discuss the stories that we can tell from each image we hold. Please refrain from sending in a one-of-the-kind image, as these will be glued to the outside of the notebook. Thank you for helping us, and we look forward to reading all of the amazing stories that your child has to share this year. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact the MAC team teachers. So if you guys want to take a screenshot, but that's going to be our writer's notebook. I sent this home. Parents ended up putting in different clippings. Now, did all families do that? No. And I did tell my students that if they don't have a printer at home and they need help, I would help them print. So some students did end up printing here. But what I did is I just kind of told them to paste. So I ended up showing them, like, here are some of the things that I did this summer. I also put like memes, things that kind of I really enjoy. I have a cactus in Mexico because my family's from Mexico. I love dogs. I put lemons and limes because it reminds me of summer, and fresh drinks, which I really, really love. I have a picture of a turtle that we found in the river. So I gave them some stickers, and I let them pick out like 2 meme stickers, and then I also let them pick out fun stickers that I have just kind of stored inside of my closet. So the kids had a blast decorating this. And I've done this in the past, actually many, many times in the past, and I've always loved using a writer's notebook with my kids because sometimes I just want them to just sit down and write. So one of the things that we're gonna practice next week is on Monday, they're gonna come in and I'm gonna have them write about something that happened over the weekend, just to kind of get them like a free exercise like that, just to kind of get some things going. They can tell me about something, they can write about, something that they wish, they can just tell anything that they wanna tell. This is not really necessarily for me to like sit there and check through. This is not where we're gonna do our core writing. It's mainly an inspirational piece and to encourage writing in general. So I did one of the first activities with my students because over these next few days, as we're launching Reading and Writing Workshop, I talked to my kids about, stories and how do we generate story ideas. So one of the story ideas that I have is I always will read a picture book, and the picture book will go along with the kind of story or ideas that we're gonna generate. So I read the book Ish, which is this one. Ish. I read this book to them, and then afterwards we did an Ish drawing. So I modeled for them how to do the Ish drawing. We also skipped a few pages and put a sticky note there. But I modeled for them how to do my Ish drawing. I took one color marker and I closed my eyes and I just did a squiggle. Once I was done, we talked about what we saw. And so the kids were kind of sharing what they see in the squiggle that looked kind of blank-ish. And at the end of it, I told them that I saw an octopus-ish. So here is my little octopus-ish. You can see, I started showing them in a different color how I see the eyes, I see the tentacles coming out, and I drew the ocean waves. And then I wrote myself a short story. Now I use colors. I don't tell my students to do that, but I use colors just so they can see it on the projector, when I'm projecting it, or else they can't really see it very well if I write it in pencil. So I wrote my little story for them and I kind of shared that, and the kids had a blast with it. So we're gonna be doing more like that. I use the library mouse, I use Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day, like Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible. I use that story. I use the Seashore book. I use Grandpa Green. There's a lot of different stories out there that will help inspire kids into what they could possibly write. And so we're going to just spend these next few days just generating ideas. So that way, when I say, I want you to take out your notebooks and write, they always have this collection of all of these different ideas that we brainstormed at the beginning of the year. So that's kind of that little piece, and I love it. It's cute, right? Yeah, I think it's cute. So we spent quite a bit of time creating anchor charts together. I need to get them posted up in my classroom, which I haven't done yet. But we spent a ton of time creating anchor charts about how to choose just right books, how do we come in the mornings, what do we do in the afternoons. We've created various anchor charts that I feel as though that you need to have at the beginning of the year just to set reminders. So it's always good to put those up, and I am going to be putting those up in just a little bit, but they're kind of ugly, so I think I'm going to fix them. This is not something that I probably should worry about at this time of the year, but it's the thing that's in my brain. So I'm gonna go back and fix them. Let me know if you are that teacher that like rushes to make them in class and then you go back and make them a little bit prettier. Or are you a really prepared teacher and you already have it like outlined and then it's gorgeous already before the kids even arrive? I am jealous of you. I definitely am not that kind of a teacher, but that's okay. I feel like my kids still appreciate me nonetheless. So that has been what this week has just pretty much been all about. I'm very excited and hopeful for what the school year is going to hold. And I hope to share more of these days and what we're doing inside of the classroom and what it looks like with all of you guys, because it's always fun to go back and just kind of rewatch these. So one of the things that I just want to reiterate, that please don't think that just because you start the beginning of the year in a certain way that you cannot make changes. We are living proof this week that we did have to make changes. We had to make adjustments to what we were doing in our schedule and what we had our kids doing because we noticed that it just wasn't working out. And so if you're finding that in your classroom right now, things are not working, go ahead and make those changes now. It's the perfect time to be able to make those adjustments. You really don't want to wait until you are in the content, the curriculum, and you're working hard, and then you have to make those adjustments because there is going to be that wobbling period. You know, it's funny, Michelle and I talk a lot about just seasons of life and how sometimes when we go from one time in our life to another, it's like you're going from a boat to a paddle boat. So we often love to go to the river and just kind of hang out. So we have this big pontoon boat, and we will often, you know, the kids will take out the paddle boats and they'll kind of transition from one to the other. But when they do, it's always a little bit wobbly. They kind of just like struggle to find their footing. And so you don't want to wait until a little bit later on because you're going to realize behaviors are going to start to come out. You're not going to feel as though you're getting through the content as much. So take this time to make the adjustments if you have to. We definitely had to do it. And I am leaving this week feeling so much better now that we have made some of those adjustments. Because I'll be honest, I think I would overthink it this weekend in trying to figure out how I could make it better. So very thankful for that piece. All right, guys, I'm gonna stop talking because I felt like I talked a ton today just in general, but I hope that you are having a really good start to your school year. I will be back with another video. If you are new here, hello, my name is Bridget Spackman. I'm a multi-age teacher in Central Pennsylvania. I love all things literacy, behavior management, and developing critical and independent thinkers inside of your classroom. So I would love for you to stay and subscribe and make sure that you hit that notification bell, give the video a thumbs up, and I will see you all next time. Bye.